Welcome to Bible Quizzes. There are 80 questions in this quiz. Are you ready? Let's begin. 1. What happened to the 10 spies who spread a bad report about what they saw in Canaan? God struck them with a plague. They were exiled. They died after 40 years. They left for Egypt. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is God struck them with a plague. Numbers 14:37. These men responsible for spreading the bad report about the land were struck down and died of a plague before the Lord. 2. Who told people to call her Mara? Hagar, Ruth, Rebecca, Naomi. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Naomi. Ruth 1:20. Don't call me Naomi, she told them. Call me Mara because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. 3. 700 left-handed men who could sling a stone at a hair without missing were from which tribe? Judah, Issachar, Levi, Benjamin. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Benjamin. Judges 20:16. Among all these soldiers, there were 700 chosen men who were left-handed, each of whom could sling a stone at a hair and not miss. 4. Where was Samson when his hair was being shaved? Asleep on Delilah's lap, drunk and asleep, tied to a bedpost, in a trance. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is asleep on Delilah's lap. Judges 26:19. Having put him to sleep on her lap, she called a man to shave off the 7 braids of his hair, and so began to subdue him, and his strength left him. 5. Which of this is not a minor prophet? Nahum, Isaiah, Micah, Jonah. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Isaiah. Isaiah is not a minor prophet and was quoted severally in the New Testament. 6. What day did God create the sky? First, third, second, fourth. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is second. Genesis 1:8. God called the expanse sky, and there was evening and there was morning the second day. 7. Where did Joseph's brothers put him before selling him? In a cistern, on a tree, in a valley, in the river. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is in a cistern, Genesis 37:24. And they took him and threw him into the cistern. Now the cistern was empty, there was no water in it. 8. Who among these was Rachel's son? Gad, Reuben, Zebulun, Joseph. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Joseph, Genesis 35:24. The sons of Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin. 9. How old was Joseph when he was sold into slavery? 10 years, 17 years, 20 years, 40 years. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 17 years, Genesis 37:2. This is the account of Jacob. Joseph, a young man of 17, was tending the flocks with his brothers, the son of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and he brought their father a bad report about them. 10. Who taught King Lemuel the oracle of Proverbs 31? His mother, the Pharisees, his father, his teacher. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is his mother, Proverbs 31:1, the sayings of King Lemuel, an oracle his mother taught him. 11. How many virgins were wise? 10, 2, 5, 3. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 5, Matthew 25:2. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. 12. What type of perfume did Mary pour at Jesus' feet? Nard, musk, lavender, vanilla extract. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is nard, John 12:3. Then Mary took about a pint of pure nard, an expensive perfume. She poured it on Jesus' feet and wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. 13. Which of Tamar's twins had the scarlet thread around his hand? Zerah, Onan, Perez. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Zerah, Judges 13:3. The angel of the Lord appeared to her and said, "You are sterile and childless, but you are going to conceive and have a son." 14. Which of Joseph's brothers suggested that they sell him instead of killing him? Reuben, Dan, Judah, Simeon. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Judah, Genesis 37:26. Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood?" 15. After throwing Jonah into the sea and the sea calmed down, what did the men do? They went to hide. They began to pray. They cursed Jonah. They made vows to God. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is they made vows to God. Jonah 1:6. At this, the men greatly feared the Lord, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord and made vows to him. 16. Who among these was Samson's father? Elkanah, Manoah, Elimelech, Obed. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Manoah, Judges 13:2. A certain man of Zorah named Manoah from the clan of the Danites had a wife who was sterile and remained childless. 17. How many of Aaron's sons did God strike dead for making unauthorized fire? 1, 3, 4, 2. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 2, Numbers 3:4. Nadab and Abihu, however, fell dead before the Lord when they made an offering with an authorized fire before him in the desert of Sinai. They had no sons, so only Eleazar and Ithamar served as priests during the lifetime of their father Aaron. 18. Who was Ruth's sister-in-law? You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Orpah, Ruth 1:4. They married Moabite women, one named Orpah and the other Ruth, after they had lived there about 10 years. 19. What did God provide to swallow Jonah? A whirlwind, a sea cow, a big fish, a python. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is a big fish, Jonah 1:17. But the Lord provided a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was inside the fish 3 days and 3 nights. 20. How many sons did Haman have? 5, 2, 7, 10. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 10, Esther 9:10. The 10 sons of Haman, son of Hammedatha, the enemy of the Jews, but they did not lay their hands on the plunder. 21. True or false? According to Proverbs, wisdom is a woman. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is true. Proverbs 120. Wisdom calls aloud in the street. She raises her voice in the public squares. 22. Who took over the priesthood from Nadab and Abihu? Eleazar and Joshua. Eleazar and Ithamar. Ithamar and Joshua. Eleazar and Caleb. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Eleazar and Ithamar, Numbers 3:4. Nadab and Abihu, however, fell dead before the Lord when they made an offering with unauthorized fire before him in the desert of Sinai. They had no sons, so only Eleazar and Ithamar served as priests during the lifetime of their father Aaron. 23. Who was Naomi's husband? Hophni, Elimelech, Onan. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Elimelech. Ruth 1:2. The man's name was Elimelech, his wife's name Naomi, and the names of his two sons were Mahlon and Kilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem, Judah, and they went to Moab and lived there. 24. What did the good cows in Pharaoh's dream represent? 7 weeks of light, 7 days of darkness, 7 years of abundance, 7 years of famine. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 7 years of abundance. Genesis 41:29. 7 years of great abundance are coming throughout the land of Egypt. 25. What did Jesus say the pouring of perfume at his feet was for? His birthday, his burial, his priesthood, to smell nice. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is his burial. John 12:7. What did Jesus say the pouring of perfume at his feet was for? 26. Which of the 7 churches in Revelations was accused of holding to Balaam's teachings? The church in Pergamum, the church in Smyrna, the church in Thyatira, the church in Philadelphia. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is the church in Pergamum, Revelations 2:14. Nevertheless, I have a few things against you. You have people there who hold to the teaching of Balaam, who taught Balak to entice the Israelites to sin by eating food sacrificed to idols and by committing sexual immorality. 27. How many prophets of Asherah were present at Mount Carmel? 200, 600, 450, 400. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 400. 1 Kings 18:19. Now summon the people from all over Israel to meet me on Mount Carmel, and bring the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah who eat at Jezebel's table. 28. Who was Judah's daughter-in-law? Tamar, Dinah, Jochebed, Anna. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Tamar, Genesis 38:11. Judah then said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, "Live as a widow in your father's house until my son Shelah grows up," for he thought he may die too, just like his brothers. So Tamar went to live in her father's house. 29. Which of Jesus' disciples was a thief? You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Judas, John 12:6. He did not say this because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. As keeper of the money bag, he used to help himself to what was put into it. 30. What was Bathsheba doing when David saw her? Singing, bathing, dancing, eating. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is bathing. 2 Samuel 11:2. One evening, David got up from his bed and walked around on the roof of the palace. From the roof, he saw a woman bathing. The woman was very beautiful. 31. Which of these was the son of Jesse? Eliab, Ithamar, Ben-Oni, Oholiab. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Eliab, 1 Chronicles 2:13. Jesse was the father of Eliab, his firstborn. The second son was Abinadab, the third Shimea. 32. Which of these is the son of Bilhah? Joseph, Benjamin, Reuben, Naphtali. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Naphtali. Genesis 35:25. The sons of Rachel's maidservant Bilhah, Dan and Naphtali. 33. Fill in the blank. Give us this day our daily blank. Sacrament, food, prayers, bread. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is bread. Matthew 6:11. Give us today our daily bread. 34. What did each of the Philistines promise Delilah if she found the source of Samson's strength? 10 talents of gold, 100 talents of gold, 1,100 shekels of silver, 500 shekels of silver. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 1,100 shekels of silver. Judges 16:5. The rulers of the Philistines went to her and said, "See if you can lure him into showing you the secret of his great strength and how we can overpower him, so we may tie him up and subdue him. Each one of us will give you 1,100 shekels of silver." 35. Which of Jacob's sons slept with his daughter-in-law? Reuben, Simeon, Judah, Gad. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Judah, Genesis 38:16. Not realizing that she was his daughter-in-law, he went over to her by the roadside and said, "Come now, let me sleep with you. And what will you give me to sleep with you?" she asked. 36. Who was Moses' mother? Rachel, Miriam, Jochebed, Dorcas. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Jochebed, Exodus 6:20. Amram married his father's sister Jochebed, who bore him Aaron and Moses. Amram lived 137 years. 37. Who was Ehud? A judge, a prince, a teacher, a Pharisee. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is a judge. Judges 3:15. Again, the Israelites cried out to the Lord, and he gave them a deliverer, Ehud, a left-handed man, the son of Gera the Benjamite. The Israelites sent him with tribute to Eglon, king of Moab. 38. When Ruth and Naomi returned to Israel, where did they settle? Nazareth, Galilee, Samaria, Bethlehem. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Bethlehem, Ruth 1:22. So Naomi returned from Moab accompanied by Ruth the Moabites, her daughter-in-law, arriving in Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning. 39. Which book comes before Obadiah? Hosea, Joel, Jonah, Amos. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Amos. The book of Amos comes before Obadiah. 40. Which of these was not a son of Aaron? Nadab, Onan, Abihu, Eleazar. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Onan, Numbers 3:2. The names of the sons of Aaron were Nadab the firstborn and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. 41. True or false? Mahlon and Kilion were the names of Naomi's sons. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is true. Ruth 1:2. The man's name was Elimelech, his wife's name Naomi, and the names of his two sons were Mahlon and Kilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem, Judah, and they went to Moab and lived there. 42. Samson descended from which tribe? Judah, Levi, Asher, Dan. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Dan. Judges 13:2. A certain man of Zorah named Manoah from the clan of the Danites had a wife who was sterile and remained childless. 43. Which of these was a judge in Israel? Jeroboam, Samson, Rehoboam. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Samson. Judges 15:20. Samson led Israel for 20 years in the days of the Philistines. 44. In the parable of the Good Samaritan, the man was traveling from Jerusalem to where? Samaria, Jericho, Judea, Galilee. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Jericho. Luke 10:30. In reply, Jesus said, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he fell into the hands of robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead." 45. What country was Ruth from? You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Moab. Ruth 1:4. They married Moabite women, one named Orpah and the other Ruth, after they had lived there about 10 years. 46. Who was Jesse's youngest son? Eliab, Shammah, David, Abinadab. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is David. 1 Samuel 17:14. David was the youngest. The three oldest followed Saul. 47. Rachel died after giving birth to who? Benjamin, Asher, Joseph, Gad. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Benjamin. Genesis 35:18. As she breathed her last, she was sighing. She named her son Ben-Oni, but his father named him Benjamin. 48. Lazarus was from where? Cana, Bethphage, Bethel, Bethany. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Bethany. John 12:1. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus arrived at Bethany where Lazarus lived, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. 49. How many of Jesse's sons went to war with Saul against the Philistines? 7, 3, 4, 6. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 3. 1 Samuel 17:13. Jesse's three oldest sons had followed Saul to the war. The firstborn was Eliab, the second Abinadab, and the third Shammah. 50. True or false? Samson killed more people when he died than when he was alive. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is true. Judges 16:30. Samson said, "Let me die with the Philistines." Then he pushed with all his might, and down came the temple on the rulers and all the people in it. Thus he killed many more when he died than while he lived. 51. How old was Aaron when he and Moses spoke to Pharaoh? 40, 72, 60, 83. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 83. Exodus 7:7. Moses was 80 years old and Aaron 83 when they spoke to Pharaoh. 52. What did Judas prefer Mary to have done with the perfume? Sold it and gave the money to charity. Shared it with him. Sprayed herself. Sold it and gave him the money. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is sold it and gave the money to charity. John 12:5. Why wasn't this perfume sold and the money given to the poor? It was worth a year's wages. 53. What did Naomi tell Ruth to do to Boaz before lying beside him? Kiss him, cover his feet, oil his hair, uncover his feet. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is uncover his feet. Ruth 3:4. When he lies down, note the place where he is lying. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down. He will tell you what to do. 54. Which prophet was quoted the most in the New Testament? You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Isaiah. Isaiah is the most quoted in the New Testament, quoted by Jesus in John 12:38-41, the Gospels, letters of Paul, Revelation, and other apostles. 55. According to Proverbs, what is the worth of a wife of noble character? Like gold, worthless, more than rubies, like sand on the seashore. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is more than rubies. Proverbs 31:10. A wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. 56. What did the foolish virgins want from the wise ones? Oil, food, water, gold. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is oil. Matthew 25:8. The foolish ones said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, our lamps are going out." 57. What is the first book of the Bible? Genesis, Psalms, Matthew, Malachi. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Genesis. Genesis is the first book of the Bible. 58. Which prophet was quoted in the opening of the Gospel of Mark? Jeremiah, Isaiah, Daniel, Ezekiel. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Isaiah. Mark 1:2. It is written in Isaiah the prophet, "I will send my messenger ahead of you who will prepare your way." 59. How long did Jephthah allow his daughter to weep before fulfilling his vow? 7 days, 2 months, 3 days, 7 weeks. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 2 months, Judges 11:39. After the 2 months, she returned to her father and he did to her as he had vowed, and she was a virgin. From this comes the Israelite costume. 60. Whose bed was 13 feet in the Old Testament? Og, Magog, Goliath. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Og, Deuteronomy 3:11. Only Og, king of Bashan, was left of the remnant of the Rephites. His bed was made of iron and was more than 13 feet long and 6 feet wide. It is still in Rabbah of the Ammonites. 61. According to Proverbs, what kind of water is sweet? Coconut water, stolen water, hot water, cold water. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is stolen water, Proverbs 9:17. Stolen water is sweet, food eaten in secret is delicious. 62. Solomon's splendor could not compete with the way God dressed peach flowers. Roses, sunflowers, carnations, lilies. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is lilies, Luke 12:27. Consider how the lilies grow. They do not labor nor spin. Yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. 63. The woman Jesus healed in the synagogue. 63. The woman Jesus healed in the synagogue on a Sabbath was crippled for how many years? 10, 15, 20, 18. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 18, Luke 13:11. And a woman was there who had been crippled by a spirit for 18 years. She was bent over and could not straighten up at all. 64. How tall was Goliath? Over 9 feet, about 6 feet, over 12 feet, 13 feet. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is over 9 feet. 1 Samuel 17:4. A champion named Goliath who was from Gath came out of the Philistine camp. He was over 9 feet tall. 65. Which of David's brothers accused him of being conceited and wicked? Shammah, Jehu, Abinadab, Eliab. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Eliab, 1 Samuel 17:28. When Eliab, David's oldest brother, heard him speaking with the man, he burned with anger at him and asked, "Why have you come down here, and with whom did you leave those few sheep in the desert? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came down early only to watch the battle." 66. Which son of Judah did God kill for refusing to give his brother an offspring? Ruel, Onan, Shelah. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Onan, Genesis 38:9. But Onan knew that the offspring would not be his, so whenever he lay with his brother's wife, he spilled his semen on the ground to keep from producing offspring for his brother. 67. In the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, where was Lazarus taken to after death? Sheol, Abraham's bosom, Hades, Paradise. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Abraham's bosom, Luke 16:22. The time came when the beggar died and the angels carried him to Abraham's side. The rich man also died and was buried. 68. After Boaz woke up and saw Ruth, what did he pour in the shawl that she wore? Sand, wheat, stones, barley. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is barley, Ruth 3:15. He also said, "Bring me the shawl you are wearing and hold it out." When she did so, he poured into it 6 measures of barley and put it on her. Then he went back to town. 69. How did the wise virgins tell the foolish ones to get oil? To beg, to make their own, to buy, to borrow from others. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is to buy. Matthew 25:9. No, they replied, there may not be enough for both us and you. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves. 70. Who was the first person to ignore the wounded man in the parable of the Good Samaritan? A eunuch, a Samaritan, a Levite, a priest. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is a priest. Luke 10:31. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. 71. How many sons of Judah did God put to death? 1, 3, 2, 4. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 2. Genesis 38:10. What he did was wicked in the Lord's sight, so he put him to death also. 72. How many sons did Jesse have? 9, 7, 3, 8. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 8. 1 Samuel 17:12. Now David was the son of an Ephrathite named Jesse, who was from Bethlehem in Judah. Jesse had 8 sons, and in Saul's time he was old and well advanced in years. 73. Jesus told the parable of the Good Samaritan in response to which question? Who is kind? Who is my neighbor? Who is good? Who is my friend? You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is, who is my neighbor? Luke 10:31. A priest happened to be going down on the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. 74. The rich man wanted to send Lazarus to warn who? The Israelites, his brothers, his wives, his children. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is his brothers. Luke 16:28. For I have 5 brothers. Let him warn them so that they will not also come to this place of torment. 75. Which of Aaron's sons were struck dead for making an offering with unauthorized fire? Nadab and Ithamar, Eleazar and Ithamar, Nadab and Abihu, Abihu and Eleazar. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Nadab and Abihu. Numbers 3:4. Nadab and Abihu, however, fell dead before the Lord when they made an offering with unauthorized fire before him in the desert of Sinai. They had no sons, so only Eleazar and Ithamar served as priests during the lifetime of their father Aaron. 76. How many smooth stones did David take from the stream? 4, 5, 3, 7. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 5. 1 Samuel 17:40. Then he took his staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, put them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag, and with his sling in his hand, approached the Philistine. 77. How long did God cause the Israelites to wander in the wilderness after the spies' bad report? 10 years, 50 years, 40 years, 20 years. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 40 years. Numbers 14:34. For 40 years, 1 year for each of the 40 days you explore the land, you will suffer for your sins and know what it is like to have me against you. 78. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the blank. Keys to the kingdom. Kingdom of heaven. Ability to see God. Crown of life. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Kingdom of Heaven, Matthew 5:3. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. 79. Which temple did Samson pull down when he died? Baal, Molech, Dagon, Ashtoreth. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Dagon, Judges 16:23. Now the rulers of the Philistines assembled to offer a great sacrifice to Dagon their god and to celebrate, saying, Our God has delivered Samson our enemy into our hands. 80. Who was Ruth's son? Onan, Perez, Obed, Jesse. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Obed, Ruth 4:17. The women living there said, Naomi has a son, and they named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David. And there you have it. How well did you do? Tally your score and post in the comments. Don't forget to share this quiz with your family and friends. See you in the next one. God bless.